Most people do not lose in public. They lose in private. They lose in the tiny moments nobody claps for. They lose when the alarm rings. They lose when boredom shows up. They lose when doubt gets loud. They lose when comfort makes a better offer. And then they call it bad luck. Winners see that game for what it is. They know success is rarely stolen in one dramatic moment. It is usually traded away in small daily decisions. That is why a winner's mindset is not built on hype. It is built on laws you respect whether you feel inspired or not. Break these laws long enough and your talent starts working against you. Live by them long enough, and average ability begins to look unstoppable. The first law is simple. Responsibility gives you your power back. The moment you blame your past, your boss, your family, or the market, you hand away the steering wheel. That blame might explain your pain, but it cannot build your future, and winners care more about direction than excuses. They ask a harder question. What can I control right now? That question is not glamorous, but it is liberating, because control always begins where complaint ends. A victim waits for better conditions. A winner starts improving the conditions with the tools already on the table, even if those tools seem painfully small. You see it in athletes who stop blaming the referee and fix their conditioning instead. You see it in founders who stop whining about competition and sharpen their offer until customers cannot ignore it. You see it in students who stop saying the teacher is unfair and master the material anyway. Here is the truth. Life does not always give you a fair opening, but it still responds to disciplined ownership. The second you say, "This part is on me," you stop being trapped inside the story of what happened. Now you are writing what happens next. That is the first freedom winners earn. The second law is brutal. Discipline must outrank mood. If you only move when you feel ready, you will spend years training your emotions to control your future. Mood is unstable. It changes with sleep, weather, rejection, praise, hormones, and headlines. Discipline is different. Discipline says the standard stays even when the feeling leaves. That is why consistent people often beat gifted people. Gifted people can become addicted to easy starts, while disciplined people become dangerous because they know how to continue. They write when the page feels heavy. They train when energy is low. They study when their friends are scrolling, laughing, and wasting the very hours that could change everything. But here's what winners do differently. They do not make discipline dramatic. They make it normal. They remove negotiation from basic commitments because every daily debate drains energy that should be spent on execution. They decide once, then follow through many times, and that is far more powerful than making passionate promises every Monday. When you stop asking yourself whether you feel like it, you become far more difficult to stop. That is when momentum stops being an accident. The third law is quiet, but it changes everything. Your standards shape your identity. People talk about confidence as if it appears from positive thinking alone, but deep confidence usually comes from self-respect. And self-respect grows when your behavior matches your own expectations. If you keep making promises to yourself and breaking them, your mind starts doubting your words. Not because you are weak, because you trained yourself not to trust yourself. Winners protect that trust like it is gold. They set standards for how they speak, how they work, how they recover, and what they tolerate around them. They do not let chaos become culture. They do not let laziness become personality. They do not call self-betrayal freedom. A higher standard does not mean perfection. It means you stop giving your lower self the final vote. It means your room, your schedule, your habits, and your circle begin reflecting the future you claim to want. A man who says he wants excellence but accepts constant disorder is sending himself mixed instructions. A woman who says she wants growth but protects every comfort is slowing her own transformation. Standards are signals. They tell your brain what kind of life you are serious about building, and your actions follow those signals. So raise the floor. Do not wait to feel like a stronger person before acting stronger. Act like someone with standards, and identity starts catching up. The fourth law is one most people resist. Pain is a teacher, not an enemy. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid discomfort, then wonder why they never discover their real capacity. They avoid hard conversations, hard reps, hard truths, hard mornings, and hard choices. Then they call their small life peace. But peace built on avoidance is fragile. It collapses the second pressure arrives. Winners build a different kind of peace. They make themselves familiar with useful discomfort, so difficulty no longer feels like a personal attack. They understand that the burn of training, the sting of rejection, and the boredom of repetition are often tuition. You pay it now, or you pay far more later. Avoid the workout now, and your body sends a bill. Avoid the conversation now, and the relationship sends a bill. Avoid the discipline now, and your future sends a bill with interest. So here's the shift. Stop asking whether this is uncomfortable. Ask whether this discomfort is building me or breaking me. If it is building you, lean in with intelligence, patience, and courage. A winner does not worship pain. A winner uses it. That is why setbacks often harden them instead of ending them. They know pressure can reveal weakness, but it can also forge strength. The fifth law separates dabblers from builders. Focus creates force. Scattered energy feels busy, but it rarely becomes powerful. When your attention is split across 20 priorities, your results get diluted across 20 directions. You start a plan, abandon it, chase a new one, get excited, burn out, and repeat the cycle. That pattern destroys more dreams than lack of talent ever will. Winners understand that attention is not just a resource. It is a weapon. And they aim it carefully. They choose fewer targets and hit them longer. They know mastery looks boring from the outside because repetition is rarely entertaining to distracted people. But repetition is exactly what turns skill into instinct and effort into edge. Look at anyone operating at a high level. The musician repeats scales. The fighter repeats fundamentals. The entrepreneur repeats outreach, refinement, and decision-making until pattern recognition becomes almost automatic. That level of sharpness is not magic. It is focus compounded over time. So protect your attention like your life depends on it, because in many ways, your future does. Turn down noise. Reduce inputs. Finish more than you start. Every time you hold your focus when distraction makes an offer, you strengthen one of the rarest muscles left. The sixth law is the one that keeps winners rising. Humility keeps you growing. A fragile ego wants to look strong. A strong mind wants to become stronger. That difference changes everything. People who need to appear right stop learning the moment correction enters the room. They defend weak habits, repeat expensive mistakes, and protect an identity that can no longer carry them forward. Winners are confident, but they are coachable. They can look at failure without collapsing. They can hear feedback without treating it like an insult. They can admit, "I was wrong," and still keep their dignity, because their goal is progress, not performance. This is rare. Most people would rather protect their image than improve their reality. That is why they stay stuck in old patterns with new excuses. But growth demands honesty. It demands that you face your blind spots before life exposes them for you. The strongest people in any room are usually not the loudest. They are the most teachable under pressure. Then no success can make you sharp, but it can also make you arrogant if you stop examining yourself. So keep your ambition high and your ego on a leash. That balance will save years. And here's what makes these laws powerful. They do not work alone. Each one strengthens the others when you actually practice them together. Responsibility makes discipline easier because you stop waiting for rescue and start expecting effort from yourself. Discipline raises your standards because repeated action proves you are capable of more than comfort suggested. Higher standards help you use pain wisely because you stop seeing challenge as punishment and start seeing it as refinement. Useful pain sharpens focus because hardship has a way of revealing what matters and exposing what is trivial. Focus feeds humility because the deeper you go into any craft, the more you realize how much there is to learn. Humility returns you to responsibility because mature people stop performing for excuses and start correcting what is theirs. That is how a mindset becomes a system. It stops being a quote you like. It becomes a code you live by when pressure tests your character. And pressure will test it. There will be mornings when your old habits sound reasonable again. There will be days when average looks attractive because excellence feels slow, lonely, and invisible. There will be seasons when your effort seems to produce nothing but fatigue. That is when these laws matter most. Anyone can talk like a winner when results are obvious. The real standard is who you become when results are delayed. Can you stay responsible when blame would feel better? Can you stay disciplined when emotion tries to renegotiate the deal? Can you keep your standards when nobody would punish you for lowering them? Can you accept useful discomfort without turning it into drama? Can you hold your focus when distraction arrives dressed as opportunity? Can you stay teachable after a win and steady after a loss? Those moments reveal your real mindset. Not the words you post. Not the goals you announce. The choices you make when nobody is measuring but you. That is why private integrity matters so much. A winner is built in unseen repetitions long before the world calls them impressive. Before the promotion, there was preparation. Before the confidence, there was kept commitment. Before the recognition, there were 100 quiet decisions that looked ordinary to everybody else. Never disrespect those ordinary decisions. They are carrying more of your future than your big dreams ever will by themselves. Dreams give direction. Systems create arrival. Motivation can open the door, but only character keeps walking when the hallway gets dark. So if you feel behind, do not panic. Do not waste energy trying to look successful while your foundation is weak. Go back to the laws. Strengthen the basics. Clean up the habits you have been excusing. Rebuild the promises you have been postponing. Make the next choice cleaner than the last one. That is how losers stay stuck and winners quietly separate. One keeps waiting for a different life. The other becomes a different person. Now bring these 6 laws together. Take responsibility. Let discipline outrank mood. Raise your standards. Use pain wisely. Guard your focus. Stay humble enough to keep evolving. None of these laws are complicated. That is exactly why so many people ignore them. They want a secret that sounds more exciting than the daily truth. But the daily truth is where winners are built. Not in speeches. Not in fantasy. Not in one huge break. In repeated choices that look small until the results become impossible to ignore. You do not need a different personality to start living this way. You need a different level of honesty about what your current choices are producing. If your habits are weak, admit it and rebuild them. If your circle is lowering your standard, adjust it. If your attention is scattered, simplify the battlefield. If your ego is blocking growth, humble it before life does it for you. That is how change becomes real. Not when you hear the right message, when you obey it. Because winners are not people who never feel fear, doubt, fatigue, or frustration. They feel all of it. They just refuse to let those feelings become their leader. They live by laws deeper than emotion, louder than excuses, and stronger than temporary pain. And if you start living by those laws, your results may not change overnight. But you will. And once you change at that level, the outside world eventually has no choice but to notice. That is the mindset. That is the shift. And that is how winners are made.